Chapter 21. Now these are the laws which you are to put before them. If you get a Hebrew servant for money, he is to be your servant for 6 years, and in the 7th year you are to let him go free without payment. If he comes to you by himself, let him go away by himself. If he is married, let his wife go away with him. If his master gives him a wife, and he gets sons or daughters by her, the wife and her children will be the property of the master, and the servant is to go away by himself. But if the servant says clearly, "My master and my wife and children are dear to me, I have no desire to be free," then his master is to take him to the gods of the house, and at the door, or at its framework, he is to make a hole in his ear with a sharp-pointed instrument, and he will be his servant forever. And if a man gives his daughter for a price to be a servant, she is not to go away free as the men servants do. If she is not pleasing to her master who has taken her for himself, let a payment be made for her so that she may go free. Her master has no power to get a price for her and send her to a strange land, because he has been false to her. And if he gives her to his son, he is to do everything for her as if she was his daughter. And if he takes another woman, her food and clothing and her marriage rights are not to be less. And if he does not do these 3 things for her, she has the right to go free without payment. He who gives a man a death blow is himself to be put to death. But if he had no evil purpose against him, and God gave him into his hand, I will give you a place to which he may go in flight. But if a man makes an attack on his neighbor on purpose, to put him to death by deceit, you are to take him from my altar and put him to death. Any man who gives a blow to his father or his mother is certainly to be put to death. Any man who gets another into his power in order to get a price for him is to be put to death, if you take him in the act. Any man cursing his father or his mother is to be put to death. If, in a fight, one man gives another a blow with a stone, or with a shut hand, not causing his death, but making him keep in bed, if he is able to get up again and go about with a stick, the other will be let off, only he will have to give him payment for the loss of his time, and see that he is cared for till he is well. If a man gives his manservant or his womanservant blows with a rod, causing death, he is certainly to undergo punishment. But, at the same time, if the servant goes on living for a day or 2, the master is not to get punishment, for the servant is his property. If men, while fighting, do damage to a woman with child, causing the loss of the child, but no other evil comes to her, the man will have to make payment up to the amount fixed by her husband, in agreement with the decision of the judges. But if damage comes to her, let life be given in payment for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, blow for blow. If a man gives his manservant or his womanservant a blow in the eye, causing its destruction, he is to let him go free on account of the damage to his eye. Or if the loss of a tooth is caused by his blow, he will let him go free on account of his tooth. If an ox comes to be the cause of death to a man or a woman, the ox is to be stoned, and its flesh may not be used for food, but the owner will not be judged responsible. But if the ox has frequently done such damage in the past, and the owner has had word of it and has not kept it under control, so that it has been the cause of the death of a man or woman, not only is the ox to be stoned, but its owner is to be put to death. If a price is put on his life, let him make payment of whatever price is fixed. If the death of a son or of a daughter has been caused, the punishment is to be in agreement with this rule. If the death of a manservant or of a womanservant is caused by the ox, the owner is to give their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox is to be stoned. If a man makes a hole in the earth without covering it up, and an ox or an ass dropping into it comes to its death, the owner of the hole is responsible. He will have to make payment to their owner, but the dead beast will be his. And if one man's ox does damage to another man's ox, causing its death, then the living ox is to be exchanged for money, and a division made of the price of it, and of the price of the dead one. But if it is common knowledge that the ox has frequently done such damage in the past, and its owner has not kept it under control, he will have to give ox for ox, and the dead beast will be his. Chapter 22. If a man takes without right another man's ox or his sheep, and puts it to death or gets a price for it, he is to give 5 oxen for an ox, or 4 sheep for a sheep, in payment. The thief will have to make payment for what he has taken. If he has no money, he himself will have to be exchanged for money, so that payment may be made. If a thief is taken in the act of forcing his way into a house, and his death is caused by a blow, the owner of the house is not responsible for his blood. But if it is after dawn, he will be responsible if he still has what he had taken, whatever it is, ox or ass or sheep. He is to give twice its value. If a man makes a fire in a field or a vine garden, and lets the fire do damage to another man's field, he is to give of the best produce of his field or his vine garden to make up for it. If there is a fire and the flames get to the thorns at the edge of the field, causing destruction of the cut grain or of the living grain, or of the field, he who made the fire will have to make up for the damage. If a man puts money or goods in the care of his neighbor to keep for him, and it is taken from the man's house, if they get the thief, he will have to make payment of twice the value. If they do not get the thief, let the master of the house come before the judges and take an oath that he has not put his hand on his neighbor's goods. In any question about an ox or an ass or a sheep or clothing, or about the loss of any property which anyone says is his, let the 2 sides put their cause before God, and he who is judged to be in the wrong is to make payment to his neighbor of twice the value. If a man puts an ass or an ox or a sheep or any beast into the keeping of his neighbor, and it comes to death or is damaged or is taken away, without any person seeing it, if he takes his oath before the Lord that he has not put his hand to his neighbor's goods, the owner is to take his word for it and he will not have to make payment for it. But if it is taken from him by a thief, he is to make up for the loss of it to its owner. But if it has been damaged by a beast, and he is able to make this clear, he will not have to make payment for what was damaged. If a man gets from his neighbor the use of one of his beasts, and it is damaged or put to death when the owner is not with it, he will certainly have to make payment for the loss. If the owner is with it, he will not have to make payment. If he gave money for the use of it, the loss is covered by the payment. If a man takes a virgin, who has not given her word to another man, and has connection with her, he will have to give a bride price for her to be his wife. If her father will not give her to him on any account, he will have to give the regular payment for virgins. Any woman using unnatural powers or secret arts is to be put to death. Any man who has sex connection with a beast is to be put to death. Complete destruction will come on any man who makes offerings to any other god but the Lord. Do no wrong to a man from a strange country, and do not be hard on him, for you yourselves were living in a strange country, in the land of Egypt. Do no wrong to a widow, or to a child whose father is dead. If you are cruel to them in any way, and their cry comes up to me, I will certainly give ear, and in the heat of my wrath I will put you to death with the sword, so that your wives will be widows and your children without fathers. If you let any of the poor among my people have the use of your money, do not be a hard creditor to him, and do not take interest. If ever you take your neighbor's clothing in exchange for the use of your money, let him have it back before the sun goes down, for it is the only thing he has for covering his skin. What is he to go to sleep in? And when his cry comes up to me, I will give ear, for my mercy is great. You may not say evil of the judges, or put a curse on the ruler of your people. Do not keep back your offerings from the wealth of your grain and your vines. The first of your sons you are to give to me. In the same way with your oxen and your sheep, for 7 days let the young one be with its mother, on the 8th day give it to me. You are to be holy men to me. The flesh of no animal whose death has been caused by the beasts of the field may be used for your food, it is to be given to the dogs. Chapter 23. Do not let a false statement go further. Do not make an agreement with evildoers to be a false witness. Do not be moved to do wrong by the general opinion, or give the support of your words to a wrong decision. But, on the other hand, do not be turned from what is right in order to give support to a poor man's cause. If you come across the ox or the ass of one who is no friend to you wandering from its way, you are to take it back to him. If you see the ass of one who has no love for you bent down to the earth under the weight which is put on it, you are to come to its help, even against your desire. Let no wrong decisions be given in the poor man's cause. Keep yourselves far from any false business. Never let the upright or him who has done no wrong be put to death, for I will make the evildoer responsible for his sin. Take no rewards in a cause, for rewards make blind those who have eyes to see, and make the decisions of the upright false. Do not be hard on a man from a strange country who is living among you, for you have had experience of the feelings of one who is far from the land of his birth, because you yourselves were living in Egypt, in a strange land. For 6 years put seed into your fields and get in the increase, but in the 7th year let the land have a rest and be unplanted, so that the poor may have food from it, and let the beasts of the field take the rest. Do the same with your vine gardens and your olive trees. For 6 days do your work, and on the 7th day keep the Sabbath, so that your ox and your ass may have rest, together with the son of your servant and the man from a strange land living among you. Take note of all these things which I have said to you, and let not the names of other gods come into your minds or from your lips. 3 times in the year you are to keep a feast to me. You are to keep the feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days let your bread be without leaven, as I gave you orders, at the regular time in the month Abib, for in it you came out of Egypt. And let no one come before me without an offering, and the feast of the grain cutting, the firstfruits of your planted fields, and the feast at the start of the year, when you have got in all the fruit from your fields. 3 times in the year let all your males come before the Lord God. Do not give the blood of my offering with leavened bread, and do not let the fat of my feast be kept all night till the morning. The best of the firstfruits of your land are to be taken into the house of the Lord your God. The young goat is not to be cooked in its mother's milk. See, I am sending an angel before you, to keep you on your way and to be your guide into the place which I have made ready for you. Give attention to him and give ear to his voice. Do not go against him, for your wrongdoing will not be overlooked by him, because my name is in him. But if you truly give ear to his voice, and do whatever I say, then I will be against those who are against you, fighting those who are fighting you. And my angel will go before you, guiding you into the land of the Amorite and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Canaanite and the Hivite and the Jebusite, and they will be cut off by my hand. Do not go down on your faces and give worship to their gods, or do as they do, but overcome them completely, and let their pillars be broken down. And give worship to the Lord your God, who will send his blessing on your bread and on your water, and I will take all disease away from among you. All your animals will give birth without loss, not one will be without young in all your land. I will give you a full measure of life. I will send my fear before you, putting to flight all the people to whom you come. All those who are against you will go in flight, turning their backs before you. I will send hornets before you, driving out the Hivite and the Canaanite and the Hittite before your face. I will not send them all out in 1 year, for fear that their land may become waste, and the beasts of the field be increased overmuch against you. Little by little I will send them away before you, till your numbers are increased and you take up your heritage in the land. I will let the limits of your land be from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wasteland to the river Euphrates, for I will give the people of those lands into your power, and you will send them out before you. Make no agreement with them all with their gods. Let them not go on living in your land, or they will make you do evil against me, for if you give worship to their gods, it will certainly be a cause of sin to you. Chapter 24. And he said to Moses, Come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, and Nadab and Abihu and 70 of the chiefs of Israel, and give me worship from a distance. And Moses only may come near to the Lord, but the others are not to come near, and the people may not come up with them. Then Moses came and put before the people all the words of the Lord and his laws, and all the people, answering with one voice, said, Whatever the Lord has said we will do. Then Moses put down in writing all the words of the Lord, and he got up early in the morning and made an altar at the foot of the mountain. with 12 pillars for the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent some of the young men of the children of Israel to make burnt offerings and peace offerings of oxen to the Lord. And Moses took half the blood and put it in basins, draining out half of the blood over the altar. And he took the book of the agreement, reading it in the hearing of the people, and they said, "Everything which the Lord has said we will do, and we will keep his laws." Then Moses took the blood and let it come on the people, and said, "This blood is the sign of the agreement which the Lord has made with you in these words." Then Moses and Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the chiefs of Israel went up, and they saw the God of Israel, and under his feet there was, as it seemed, a jeweled floor, clear as the heavens. And he put not his hand on the chiefs of the children of Israel. They saw God, and took food and drink. And the Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain, and take your place there, and I will give you the stones on which I have put in writing the law and the orders, so that you may give the people knowledge of them." Then Moses and Joshua his servant got up, and Moses went up into the mountain of God. And he said to the chiefs, "Keep your places here till we come back to you. Aaron and Hur are with you. If anyone has any cause, let him go to them." And Moses went up into the mountain, and it was covered by the cloud. And the glory of the Lord was resting on Mount Sinai, and the cloud was over it for 6 days. And on the 7th day he said Moses' name out of the cloud. And the glory of the Lord was like a flame on the top of the mountain before the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went up the mountain, into the cloud, and was there for 40 days and 40 nights. Chapter 25. And the Lord said to Moses, "Say to the children of Israel that they are to make me an offering. From every man who has the impulse in his heart take an offering for me. And this is the offering you are to take from them: gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and red, and the best linen, and goat's hair, and sheepskins colored red, and leather, and hard wood, oil for the light, spices for the sweet-smelling oil, sweet perfumes for burning, beryls and stones of value to be put on the ephod and on the priest's bag. And let them make me a holy place, so that I may be ever present among them. Make the house and everything in it from the designs which I will give you. And they are to make an ark of hard wood, 2.5 cubits long, and 1.5 cubits wide and high. It is to be plated inside and out with the best gold, with an edge of gold all round it, and make 4 rings of gold for it, to be fixed on its 4 feet, 2 rings on one side of it and 2 on the other. And make rods of the same wood, plating them with gold, and put the rods through the rings at the sides of the ark, for lifting it. The rods are to be kept in the rings, and never taken out. Inside the ark you are to put the record which I will give you. And you are to make a cover of the best gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. And at the 2 ends of the cover you are to make 2 winged ones of hammered gold, one at one end and one at the other. The winged ones are to be part of the cover, and their wings are to be outstretched over the cover. And the winged ones are to be opposite one another, facing the cover. And put the cover over the ark, and in the ark the record which I will give you. And there, between the 2 winged ones on the cover of the ark, I will come to you, face to face, and make clear to you all the orders I have to give you for the children of Israel. And you are to make a table of the same wood, 2 cubits long, 1 cubit wide and 1.5 cubits high, plated with the best gold, with a gold edge all round it, and make a frame all round it, as wide as a man's hand, with a gold edge to the frame. And make 4 gold rings and put them at the 4 angles, on the 4 feet of the table. The rings are to be fixed under the frame to take the rods with which the table is to be lifted. Make rods of the same wood, plated with gold, for lifting the table. And make the table vessels, the spoons and the cups and the basins for liquids, all of the best gold. And on the table at all times you are to keep my holy bread. And you are to make a support for lights, of the best gold. Its base and its pillar are to be of hammered gold. Its cups, its buds, and its flowers are to be made of the same metal. It is to have 6 branches coming out from its sides, 3 branches from one side and 3 from the other. every branch having 3 cups made like almond flowers, every cup with a bud and a flower, on all the branches. And on the pillar, 4 cups like almond flowers, every one with its bud and its flower, and under every 2 branches a bud, made with the branch, for all the 6 branches of it. The buds and the branches are to be made of the same metal, altogether one complete work of hammered gold. Then you are to make it 7 vessels for the lights, putting them in their place so that they give light in front of it. And the instruments and trays for use with it are all to be of the best gold. A talent of gold will be needed for it, with all these vessels. And see that you make them from the design which you saw on the mountain. Chapter 26. And you are to make a house for me, with 10 curtains of the best linen, blue and purple and red, worked with designs of winged ones by a good workman. Every curtain is to be 28 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, all of the same measure. 5 curtains are to be joined together, and the other 5 are to be joined together. And you are to put twists of blue cord on the edge of the outside curtain of the first group of 5, and on the edge of the outside curtain of the second group of 5, 50 twists on one curtain and 50 on the other, the twists to be opposite one another. Then make 50 gold hooks, joining the curtains together by the hooks, and in this way the house will be made. And you are to make curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the house, 11 curtains. Every curtain is to be 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, all of the same measure. 5 of these curtains are to be joined together, and the other 6 are to be joined together, the 6th being folded over to make a hanging in front of the tent. And you are to put 50 twists of cord on the edge of the outside curtain of one group, and 50 twists on the edge of the outside curtain of the other group. Then make 50 brass hooks and put the hooks into the twists, joining the tent together to make it one. And the folded part which is over of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain which is folded back, will be hanging down over the back of the house. And the cubit which is over of the 10 curtains at the sides will be hanging over the 2 sides of the house as a cover. And then you are to make a cover for the tent, of sheepskins colored red, and a cover of leather over that. And you are to make upright boards of hardwood for the house. Every board is to be 10 cubits high and a cubit and a half wide. Every board is to be joined to the one nearest to it by 2 tongues, and so for every board in the house. These are the boards needed for the house, 20 boards for the south side, with 40 silver bases under the 20 boards, 2 bases under every board to take its tongues, and 20 boards for the second side of the house on the north, with their 40 silver bases, 2 under every board. And 6 boards for the back of the house on the west, with 2 boards for the angles of the house at the back. The 2 are to be joined together at the base and at the top to one ring, forming the 2 angles. So there are to be 8 boards, with their 16 silver bases, 2 bases under every board. And make rods of the same wood, 5 for the boards on the one side, and 5 for the boards on the other side of the house, and 5 for the west side of the house at the back. And the middle rod is to go through the rings of all the boards from end to end. And the boards are to be plated with gold, having gold rings for the rods to go through, and the rods are to be plated with gold. And you are to make the house from the design which you saw on the mountain. And you are to make a veil of the best linen, blue and purple and red, worked with designs of winged ones by a good workman, hanging it by gold hooks from 4 pillars of wood, plated with gold and fixed in silver bases. And you are to put up the veil under the hooks, and put inside it the ark of the law. The veil is to be a division between the holy place and the most holy. You are to put the cover on the ark of the law, inside the most holy place. And outside the veil you are to put the table, and the support for the lights opposite the table on the south side of the house, and the table is to be on the north side. And you are to make a curtain for the doorway of the tent, of the best linen with needlework of blue and purple and red. And make 5 pillars for the curtain, of hardwood plated with gold. Their hooks are to be of gold and their bases of brass. Chapter 27. And make an altar of hard wood, a square altar, 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide and 3 cubits high. Put horns at the 4 angles of it, made of the same, plating it all with brass. And make all its vessels, the baskets for taking away the dust of the fire, the spades and basins and meat hooks and fire trays, of brass. And make a network of brass, with 4 brass rings at its 4 angles. And put the network under the shelf round the altar so that the net comes halfway up the altar. And make rods for the altar, of hard wood, plated with brass. And put the rods through the rings at the 2 opposite sides of the altar, for lifting it. The altar is to be hollow, boarded in with wood. Make it from the design which you saw on the mountain. And let there be an open space round the house, with hangings for its south side of the best linen, 100 cubits long. Their 20 pillars and their 20 bases are to be of brass, the hooks of the pillars and their bands are to be of silver. And on the north side in the same way, hangings 100 cubits long, with 20 pillars of brass on bases of brass, their hooks and their bands are to be of silver. And for the open space on the west side, the hangings are to be 50 cubits wide, with 10 pillars and 10 bases, and on the east side the space is to be 50 cubits wide. On the one side of the doorway will be hangings 15 cubits long, with 3 pillars and 3 bases, and on the other side, hangings 15 cubits long, with 3 pillars and 3 bases. And across the doorway, a veil of 20 cubits of the best linen, made of needlework of blue and purple and red, with 4 pillars and 4 bases. All the pillars round the open space are to have silver bands, with hooks of silver and bases of brass. The open space is to be 100 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, with sides 5 cubits high, curtained with the best linen, with bases of brass. All the instruments for the work of the house, and all its nails, and the nails of the open space are to be of brass. Give orders to the children of Israel to give you clear olive oil for the lights, so that a light may be burning there at all times. Let Aaron and his sons put this in order, evening and morning, before the Lord, inside the tent of meeting, outside the veil which is before the ark. This is to be an order forever, from generation to generation, to be kept by the children of Israel. Chapter 28. Now let Aaron your brother, and his sons with him, come near from among the children of Israel, so that they may be my priests, even Aaron, and Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Itamar, his sons. And make holy robes for Aaron your brother, so that he may be clothed with glory and honor. Give orders to all the wise-hearted workmen, whom I have made full of the spirit of wisdom, to make robes for Aaron, so that he may be made holy as my priest. This is what they are to make: a priest's bag, an ephod, and a robe, and a coat of colored needlework, a headdress, and a linen band. They are to make holy robes for Aaron your brother and for his sons, so that they may do the work of priests for me. They are to take the gold and blue and purple and red and the best linen, and make the ephod of gold and blue and purple and red and the best linen, the work of a designer. It is to have 2 bands stitched to it at the top of the arms, joining it together, and the beautifully worked band, which goes on it, is to be of the same work and the same material, of gold and blue and purple and red and twisted linen work. You are to take 2 beryl stones, on which the names of the children of Israel are to be cut, 6 names on the one stone and 6 on the other, in the order of their birth. With the work of a jeweler, like the cutting of a stamp, the names of the children of Israel are to be cut on them, and they are to be fixed in twisted frames of gold. And the 2 stones are to be placed on the ephod, over the armholes, to be stones of memory for the children of Israel. Aaron will have their names on his arms when he goes in before the Lord, to keep the Lord in mind of them. And you are to make twisted frames of gold, and 2 chains of the best gold, twisted like cords, and have the chains fixed onto the frames. And make a priest's bag for giving decisions, designed like the ephod, made of gold and blue and purple and red and the best linen. It is to be square, folded in 2, a hand stretch long and a hand stretch wide. And on it you are to put 4 lines of jewels. The first line is to be a cornelian, a chrysolite, and an emerald; the second, a ruby, a sapphire, and an onyx; the third, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst; the fourth, a topaz, a beryl, and a jasper. They are to be fixed in twisted frames of gold. The jewels are to be 12 in number, for the names of the children of Israel, every jewel having the name of one of the 12 tribes cut on it as on a stamp. And you are to make 2 chains of gold, twisted like cords, to be fixed to the priest's bag. And put 2 gold rings on the 2 ends of the bag. Put the 2 gold chains on the 2 rings at the ends of the bag, joining the other ends of the chains to the gold frames and putting them on the front of the ephod, at the top of the arms. Then make 2 gold rings and put them on the lower ends of the bag, at the edge of it on the inner side nearest to the ephod. And make 2 more gold rings and put them on the front of the ephod at the top of the arms, at the joint, over the worked band, so that the rings on the bag may be fixed to the rings of the ephod by a blue cord and onto the band of the ephod, so that the bag may not come loose from the ephod. And so Aaron will have the names of the children of Israel on the priest's bag over his heart whenever he goes into the holy place, to keep the memory of them before the Lord. And in the bag you are to put the Urim and Thummim, so that they may be on Aaron's heart whenever he goes in before the Lord, and Aaron may have the power of making decisions for the children of Israel before the Lord at all times. The rope which goes with the ephod is to be made all of blue, with a hole at the top. In the middle of it, the hole is to be edged with a band to make it strong like the hole in the coat of a fighting man, so that it may not be broken open. And round the skirts of it put fruits in blue and purple and red, with bells of gold between, a gold bell and a fruit in turn all round the skirts of the robe. Aaron is to put it on for his holy work, and the sound of it will be clear, when he goes into the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, keeping him safe from death. You are to make a plate of the best gold, cutting on it, as on a stamp, these words, "Holy to the Lord." Put a blue cord on it and put it on the front of the twisted headdress, and it will be over Aaron's brow, so that Aaron will be responsible for any error in all the holy offerings made by the children of Israel. It will be on his brow at all times, so that their offerings may be pleasing to the Lord. The coat is to be made of the best linen, worked in squares, and you are to make a headdress of linen, and a linen band worked in needlework. And for Aaron's sons you are to make coats, and bands, and headdresses, so that they may be clothed with glory and honor. These you are to put on Aaron, your brother, and on his sons, putting oil on them, separating them and making them holy, to do the work of priests to me. And you are to make them linen trousers, covering their bodies from the middle to the knee. Aaron and his sons are to put these on whenever they go into the tent of meeting or come near the altar, when they are doing the work of the holy place, so that they may be free from any sin causing death. This is to be an order for him and his seed after him forever. Chapter 29. This is what you are to do to make them holy, to do the work of priests to me. Take 1 young ox and 2 male sheep, without any mark on them, and unleavened bread, and unleavened cakes mixed with oil, and thin unleavened cakes on which oil has been put, made of the best bread meal. Put these in a basket and take them, with the ox and the 2 sheep. And let Aaron and his sons come to the door of the tent of meeting, and there let them be washed with water. Take the robes, and put the coat and the dress and the ephod and the priest's bag on Aaron. Put the band of needlework round him, and let the headdress be placed on his head and the holy crown on the headdress. Then take the oil and put it on his head. And take his sons and put their robes on them, and put the linen bands round Aaron and his sons, and the headdresses on them, to make them priests by my order forever. So you are to make Aaron and his sons holy to me. Then let the ox be taken in front of the tent of meeting, and let Aaron and his sons put their hands on its head. And you are to put the ox to death before the Lord at the door of the tent of meeting. Then take some of the blood of the ox, and put it on the horns of the altar with your finger, draining out all the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. And take all the fat covering the inside of the ox, and the fat joining the liver and the 2 kidneys with the fat round them, and let them be burned on the altar. But the flesh of the ox and its skin and its waist parts are to be burned outside the circle of the tents, for it is a sin offering. And you are to take 1 of the Then take one of the sheep, and let Aaron and his sons put their hands on its head. Then let it be put to death, so that the sides of the altar are marked with its blood. Then the sheep is to be cut up into its parts, and after washing its legs and its inside parts, you are to put them with the parts and the head, and let them all be burned on the altar as a burnt offering to the Lord, a sweet smell, an offering made by fire to the Lord. Then take the other sheep, and after Aaron and his sons have put their hands on its head, you are to put the sheep to death, and take some of its blood and put it on the point of Aaron's right ear, and of the right ears of his sons, and on the thumbs of their right hands and the great toes of their right feet, dropping the rest of the blood on the sides of the altar. Then take some of the blood on the altar, and the oil, and put it on Aaron and his robes and on his sons and on their robes, so that he and his robes and his sons and their robes may be made holy. Then take the fat of the sheep, the fat tail, the fat covering the insides, and the fat joining the liver and the 2 kidneys with the fat round them, and the right leg, for by the offering of this sheep they are to be marked out as priests. And take 1 bit of bread and 1 cake of oiled bread and 1 thin cake out of the basket of unleavened bread which is before the Lord, and put them all on the hands of Aaron and of his sons, to be waved for a wave offering before the Lord. Then take them from their hands, and let them be burned on the burnt offering on the altar, a sweet smell before the Lord, an offering made by fire to the Lord. Then take the breast of Aaron's sheep, waving it before the Lord, and it is to be your part of the offering. So you are to make holy the breast of the sheep which is waved and the leg which is lifted up on high, that is, of the sheep which is offered for Aaron and his sons, and it will be their part as a right forever from the children of Israel. It is a special offering from the children of Israel, made from their peace offerings, a special offering lifted up to the Lord. And Aaron's holy robes will be used by his sons after him. They will put them on when they are made priests. For 7 days the son who becomes priest in his place will put them on when he comes into the tent of meeting to do the work of the holy place. Then take the sheep of the wave offering and let its flesh be cooked in water in a holy place. And let Aaron and his sons make a meal of it, with the bread in the basket, at the door of the tent of meeting. All those things which were used as offerings to take away sin, and to make them holy to be priests, they may have for food, but no one who is not a priest may have them, for they are holy food. And if any of the flesh of the offering or of the bread is over till the morning, let it be burnt with fire. It is not to be used for food, for it is holy. All these things you are to do to Aaron and his sons as I have given you orders. For 7 days the work of making them priests is to go on. Every day an ox is to be offered as a sin offering, to take away sins, and by this offering on it, you will make the altar clean from sin, and you are to put oil on it and make it holy. For 7 days you are to make offerings for the altar and make it holy, so that it may become completely holy, and anything touching it will become holy. Now this is the offering which you are to make on the altar: 2 lambs in their first year, every day regularly. 1 lamb is to be offered in the morning and the other in the evening, and with the 1 lamb, 1/10 part of an ephah of the best meal, mixed with 1/4 part of a hin of clear oil, and 1/4 part of a hin of wine for a drink offering. And the other lamb is to be offered in the evening, and with it the same meal offering and drink offering, for a sweet smell, an offering made by fire to the Lord. This is to be a regular burnt offering made from generation to generation, at the door of the tent of meeting before the Lord, where I will come face to face with you and have talk with you. There I will come face to face with the children of Israel, and the tent will be made holy by my glory. I will make holy the tent of meeting and the altar, and Aaron and his sons I will make holy. To be my priests among the children of Israel I will make my living place, and I will be their God. And they will see that I am the Lord their God, who took them out of the land of Egypt, so that I might be ever with them. I am the Lord their God. Chapter 30. And you are to make an altar for the burning of perfume. Of hardwood let it be made. The altar is to be square, 1 cubit long and 1 cubit wide, and 2 cubits high, and its horns are to be made of the same. It is to be plated with the best gold, the top of it and the sides and the horns, with an edging of gold all round it. under the edge on the two opposite sides. You are to make 2 gold rings, to take the rods for lifting it, and make these rods of the same wood, plating them with gold. And let it be placed in front of the veil before the ark of the law, before the cover which is over the law, where I will come face to face with you. And on this altar sweet spices are to be burned by Aaron every morning when he sees to the lights. And every evening, when he puts the lights up in their places, the spices are to be burned. A sweet-smelling smoke going up before the Lord from generation to generation forever. No strange perfume, no burnt offering or meal offering, and no drink offering is to be offered on it. And once every year Aaron is to make its horns clean. With the blood of the sin offering he is to make it clean once every year from generation to generation. It is most holy to the Lord. And the Lord said to Moses, when you are taking the number of the children of Israel, let every man who is numbered give to the Lord a price for his life, so that no disease may come on them when they are numbered. And this is what they are to give. Let every man who is numbered give half a shekel, by the scale of the holy place, the shekel being valued at 20 gerahs. This money is an offering to the Lord. Everyone who is numbered, from 20 years old and over, is to give an offering to the Lord. The man of wealth is to give no more and the poor man no less than the half shekel of silver, when the offering is made to the Lord as the price for your lives. And you are to take this money from the children of Israel to be used for the work of the tent of meeting, to keep the memory of the children of Israel before the Lord and to be the price of your lives. And the Lord said to Moses, you are to make a brass washing vessel, with a brass base, and put it between the tent of meeting and the altar, with water in it, that it may be used by Aaron and his sons for washing their hands and feet. Whenever they go into the tent of meeting they are to be washed with water, to keep them from death, and whenever they come near to do the work of the altar, or to make an offering by fire to the Lord, their hands and feet are to be washed, so that they may be safe from death. This is an order to them forever, to him and his seed from generation to generation. And the Lord said to Moses, take the best spices, 500 shekels weight of liquid myrrh, and of sweet cinnamon half as much, that is, 250 shekels, and 250 shekels of sweet calamus, and of cassia, 500 shekels weight measured by the scale of the holy place, and of olive oil a hin, and make these into a holy oil, a perfume made by the art of the perfume maker. It is to be a holy oil. This oil is to be put on the tent of meeting, and on the ark of the law, and on the table and all its vessels, and on the support for the lights, with its vessels, and on the altar for burning spices, and on the altar of burnt offerings with its vessels, and on the washing vessel and its base. And you are to make them most holy. Anything touching them will become holy. And put the oil on Aaron and his sons, making them holy to do the work of priests to me. And say to the children of Israel, this is to be the Lord's holy oil, from generation to generation. It is not to be used for man's flesh, and no other is to be made like it. Holy it is, and you are to keep it holy. Whoever makes any like it, or puts it on one who is not a priest, will be cut off from his people. And the Lord said to Moses, take sweet spices, stacte and onycha and galbanum, with the best frankincense, in equal weights, and make from them a perfume, such as is made by the art of the perfume maker, mixed with salt, and clean and holy. And put some of it, crushed very small, in front of the ark in the tent of meeting, where I will come face to face with you. It is to be most holy. You are not to make any perfume like it for yourselves, it is to be kept holy to the Lord. Whoever makes any like it, for its sweet smell, will be cut off from his people. Chapter 31. And the Lord said to Moses, I have made selection of Bezalel, the son of Uri, by name, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and I have given him the Spirit of God and made him wise and full of knowledge and expert in every sort of handwork, to do all sorts of delicate work in gold and silver and brass, in cutting stones for framing, and to do every form of woodwork. And I have made selection of Aholop with him, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, and in the hearts of all who are wise I have put the knowledge to make whatever I have given you orders to have made, the tent of meeting, and the ark of the law, and the cover which is on it, and all the things for the tent, and the table with its vessels, and the holy light support with all its vessels, and the altar for the burning of spices, and the altar of burnt offerings with all its vessels, and the washing vessel with its base, and the robes of needlework, the holy robes for Aaron and for his sons, for their use when acting as priests, and the holy oil, and the perfume of sweet spices for the holy place. They will do whatever I have given you orders to have done. And the Lord said to Moses, Say to the children of Israel that they are to keep my Sabbaths, for the Sabbath day is a sign between me and you through all your generations, so that you may see that I am the Lord who makes you holy. So you are to keep the Sabbath as a holy day, and anyone not honoring it will certainly be put to death. Whoever does any work on that day will be cut off from his people. 6 days may work be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of complete rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day is to be put to death. And the children of Israel are to keep the Sabbath holy, from generation to generation, by an eternal agreement. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever, because in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he took his rest and had pleasure in it. And when his talk with Moses on Mount Sinai was ended, he gave him the 2 stones of the law, 2 stones on which was the writing made by the finger of God. Chapter 32. And when the people saw that Moses was a long time coming down from the mountain, they all came to Aaron and said to him, Come, make us a god to go before us. As for this Moses, who took us up out of the land of Egypt, we have no idea what has become of him. Then Aaron said to them, Take off the gold rings which are in the ears of your wives and your sons and your daughters, and give them to me. And all the people took the gold rings from their ears and gave them to Aaron. And he took the gold from them and, hammering it with an instrument, he made it into the metal image of a young ox. And they said, This is your God, O Israel, who took you out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw this, he made an altar before it, and made a public statement, saying, Tomorrow there will be a feast to the Lord. So early on the day after they got up and made burnt offerings and peace offerings, and took their seats at the feast, and then gave themselves to pleasure. And the Lord said to Moses, Go down quickly, for your people, whom you took out of the land of Egypt, are turned to evil ways. Even now they are turned away from the rule I gave them, and have made themselves a metal ox and given worship to it and offerings, saying, This is your God, O Israel, who took you up out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have been watching this people, and I see that they are a stiff-necked people. Now do not get in my way, for my wrath is burning against them. I will send destruction on them, but of you I will make a great nation. But Moses made prayer to God, saying, Lord, why is your wrath burning against your people whom you took out of the land of Egypt, with great power and with the strength of your hand? Why let the Egyptians say, He took them out to an evil fate, to put them to death on the mountains, cutting them off from the earth? Let your wrath be turned away from them, and send not this evil on your people. Have in mind Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you gave your oath, saying, I will make your seed like the stars of heaven in number, and all this land will I give to your seed, as I said, to be their heritage forever. So the Lord let himself be turned from his purpose of sending punishment on his people. Then Moses came down the mountain with the 2 stones of the law in his hand. The stones had writing on their 2 sides, on the front and on the back. The stones were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, cut on the stones. Now when the noise and the voices of the people came to the ears of Joshua, he said to Moses, There is a noise of war in the tents. And Moses said, It is not the voice of men who are overcoming in the fight, or the cry of those who have been overcome. It is the sound of songs which comes to my ear. And when he came near the tents he saw the image of the ox, and the people dancing, and in his wrath Moses let the stones go from his hands, and they were broken at the foot of the mountain. And he took the ox which they had made, burning it in the fire and crushing it to powder, and he put it in the water and made the children of Israel take a drink of it. And Moses said to Aaron, "What did the people do to you that you let this great sin come on them?" And Aaron said, "Let not my Lord be angry, you have seen how the purposes of this people are evil. For they said to me, 'Make us a god to go before us.' As for this Moses, who took us up out of the land of Egypt, we have no idea what has come to him." Then I said to them, "Whoever has any gold, let him take it off." So they gave it to me, and I put it in the fire, and this image of an ox came out. And Moses saw that the people were out of control, for Aaron had let them loose to their shame before their haters. Then Moses took his place at the way into the tents, and said, "Whoever is on the Lord's side, let him come to me." And all the sons of Levi came together to him, and he said to them, "This is the word of the Lord, the God of Israel. Let every man take his sword at his side, and go from one end of the tent to the other, putting to death his brother and his friend and his neighbor." And the sons of Levi did as Moses said, and about 3,000 of the people were put to death that day. And Moses said, "You have made yourselves priests to the Lord this day, for every one of you has made the offering of his son and his brother. The blessing of the Lord is on you this day." And on the day after, Moses said to the people, "Great has been your sin, but I will go up to the Lord, and see if I may get forgiveness for your sin." Then Moses went back to the Lord and said, "This people has done a great sin, making themselves a god of gold. But now, if you will give them forgiveness, but if not, let my name be taken out of your book." And the Lord said to Moses, "Whoever has done evil against me will be taken out of my book. But now, go, take the people into that place of which I have given you word. See, my angel will go before you, but when the time of my judging has come, I will send punishment on them for their sin." And the Lord sent punishment on the people because they gave worship to the ox which Aaron made. Chapter 33. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go forward from this place, you and the people whom you have taken up out of the land of Egypt, to that land about which I made an oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, 'To your seed will I give it.' And I will send an angel before you, driving out the Canaanite and the Amorite and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Hivite and the Jebusite. Go up to that land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go up among you. For you are a stiff-necked people, for fear that I send destruction on you while you are on the way." Hearing this bad news, the people were full of grief, and no one put on his ornaments. And the Lord said to Moses, "Say to the children of Israel, you are a stiff-necked people. If I come among you, even for a minute, I will send destruction on you. So take off all your ornaments, so that I may see what to do with you." So the children of Israel took off their ornaments at Mount Horeb, and did not put them on again. Now it was Moses' way to put up the tent of meeting outside the tent circle, at some distance away, giving it the name of the tent of meeting. And everyone desiring to make his prayer to the Lord went to the tent of meeting outside the tent circle. And whenever Moses went out to the tent of meeting, all the people got up and everyone went to the door of his tent, looking after Moses till he went inside the tent. And whenever Moses went into the tent, the pillar of cloud came down, and took its place by the door of the tent, as long as the Lord was talking with Moses. And all the people saw the cloud at the door of the tent, and they went down on their faces, everyone at the door of his tent. And the Lord had talked with Moses face to face, as a man may have talk with his friend. And when Moses came back to the tents, his servant, the young man Joshua, the son of Nun, did not come away from the tent. And Moses said to the Lord, "See, you say to me, 'Be this people's guide on their journey,' but you have not made clear to me whom you will send with me. But you have said, 'I have knowledge of you by name, and you have grace in my eyes.' If then I have grace in your eyes, let me see your ways, so that I may have knowledge of you and be certain of your grace. And my prayer is that you will keep in mind that this nation is your people." And he said, "I myself will go with you and give you rest." And Moses said, "If you yourself are not going with us, "Do not send us on from here. For is not the fact of your going with us the sign that I and this people have grace in your eyes, so that we, that is, I and your people, are separate from all other people on the face of the earth?" And the Lord said to Moses, "I will do as you say, for you have grace in my eyes, and I have knowledge of you by your name." And Moses said, "O Lord, let me see your glory." And he said, "I will make all the light of my being come before you, and will make clear to you what I am. I will be kind to those to whom I will be kind, and have mercy on those on whom I will have mercy. But it is not possible for you to see my face, for no man may see me and still go on living." And the Lord said, "See, there is a place near me, and you may take your place on the rock, and when my glory goes by, I will put you in a hole in the rock, covering you with my hand till I have gone past. Then I will take away my hand, and you will see my back, but my face is not to be seen." Chapter 34. And the Lord said to Moses, "Make 2 other stones like the first 2, and I will put on them the words which were on the first stones, which were broken by you. And be ready by the morning, and come up on Mount Sinai, and come before me there in the morning, on the top of the mountain. No one is to come up with you, and let no man be seen anywhere on the mountain. Let no flocks or herds come near to get their food at its foot." So Moses got 2 stones cut like the first, and early in the morning he went up Mount Sinai, as the Lord had said, with the 2 stones in his hand. And the Lord came down in the cloud and took his place by the side of Moses, and Moses gave worship to the name of the Lord. And the Lord went past before his eyes, saying, the Lord, a God full of pity and grace, slow to wrath and great in mercy and faith, having mercy on thousands, overlooking evil and wrongdoing and sin. He will not let wrongdoers go free, but will send punishment on children for the sins of their fathers, and on their children's children to the 3rd and 4th generation. Then Moses quickly went down on his face in worship. And he said, "If now I have grace in your eyes, let the Lord go among us, for this is a stiff-necked people, and give us forgiveness for our wrongdoing and our sin, and take us for your heritage." And the Lord said, "See, this is what I will undertake. Before the eyes of your people I will do wonders, such as have not been done in all the earth or in any nation, and all your people will see the work of the Lord. For what I am about to do for you is greatly to be feared. Take care to do the orders which I give you today. I will send out from before you the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Hivite and the Jebusite. But take care, and do not make any agreement with the people of the land where you are going, for it will be a cause of sin to you. But their altars are to be overturned and their pillars broken and their images cut down, for you are to be worshippers of no other God. For the Lord is a God who will not give his honor to another. So see that you make no agreement with the people of the land, and do not go after their gods, or take part in their offerings, or be guests at their feasts, or take their daughters for your sons. For when their daughters give worship before their gods, they will make your sons take part with them. Make for yourselves no gods of metal. Keep the feast of unleavened bread, for 7 days your food is to be bread without leaven, as I gave you orders, at the regular time in the month Abib, for in that month you came out of Egypt. Every first male child is mine, the first male birth of your cattle, the first male of every ox and sheep. A lamb may be given in payment for the young of an ass, but if you will not make payment for it, its neck will have to be broken. For all the first of your sons you are to make payment. No one is to come before me without an offering. 6 days let work be done, but on the 7th day take your rest. At plowing time and at the grain cutting you are to have a day for rest. And you are to keep the feast of weeks when you get in the first fruits of the grain, and the feast at the turn of the year when you take in the produce of your fields. 3 times in the year let all your males come before the Lord, the God of Israel. For I will send out the nations before you and make wide the limits of your land, and no man will make an attempt to take your land while you go up to give worship to the Lord. 3 times in the year. No leaven is to be offered with the blood of my offering, and the offering of the Passover feast may not be kept till the morning. Take the firstfruits of your land as an offering to the house of the Lord your God. Let not the young goat be cooked in its mother's milk. And the Lord said to Moses, Put all these words in writing, for on them is based the agreement which I will make with you. And for 40 days and 40 nights Moses was there with the Lord, and in that time he had no food or drink. And he put in writing on the stones the words of the agreement, the 10 rules of the law. Now when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, with the 2 stones in his hand, he was not conscious that his face was shining because of his talk with God. But when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, and the shining of his face, they would not come near him for fear. Then Moses sent for them, and Aaron, with the chiefs of the people, came to him, and Moses had talk with them. And later, all the children of Israel came near, and he gave them all the orders which the Lord had given him on Mount Sinai. And at the end of his talk with them, Moses put a veil over his face. But whenever Moses went in before the Lord to have talk with him, he took off the veil till he came out. And whenever he came out he said to the children of Israel what he had been ordered to say, and the children of Israel saw that the face of Moses was shining, so Moses put the veil over his face again till he went to the Lord. Chapter 36. And Moses sent for all the children of Israel to come together, and said to them, This is what the Lord has said, and these are his orders. 6 days let work be done, but the 7th day is to be a holy day to you, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on that day is to be put to death. No fire is to be lighted in any of your houses on the Sabbath day. And Moses said to all the meeting of the children of Israel, This is the order which the Lord has given. Take from among you an offering to the Lord, everyone who has the impulse in his heart. Let him give his offering to the Lord, gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and red, and the best linen and goat's hair, and sheepskins colored red, and leather, and hard wood, and oil for the lights, and spices for the holy oil and for the sweet perfumes for burning, and beryls and jewels to be cut for the ephod and for the priest's bag. And let every wise-hearted man among you come and make whatever has been ordered by the Lord, the house and its tent and its cover, its hooks and its boards, its rods and its pillars and its bases, the ark with its cover and its rods and the veil hanging before it, the table and its rods and all its vessels, and the holy bread, and the support for the lights, with its vessels and its lights, and the oil for the light, and the altar for burning spices, with its rods, and the holy oil and the sweet perfume, and the curtain for the door, at the door of the house, the altar of burnt offerings, with its network of brass, its rods, and all its vessels, the washing vessel and its base, the hangings for the open space, its pillars and their bases, and the curtain for the doorway, the nails for the house, and the nails for the open space and their cords, the robes of needlework for the work of the holy place, the holy robes for Aaron the priest, and the robes for his sons when acting as priests. And all the children of Israel went away from Moses. And everyone whose heart was moved, everyone who was guided by the impulse of his spirit, came with his offering for the Lord, for whatever was needed for the tent of meeting and its work and for the holy robes. They came, men and women, all who were ready to give, and gave pins and nose rings and finger rings and neck ornaments, all of gold. Everyone gave an offering of gold to the Lord. And everyone who had blue and purple and red and the best linen and goat's hair and sheepskins colored red and leather, gave them. Everyone who had silver and brass gave an offering of them to the Lord, and everyone who had hard wood, such as was needed for the work, gave it. And all the women who were expert with their hands, made cloth, and gave the work of their hands, blue and purple and red and the best linen. And those women who had the knowledge, made the goat's hair into cloth. And the rulers gave the beryls and the cut jewels for the ephod and the priest's bag, and the spice and the oil for the light, and the holy oil and the sweet perfumes. The children of Israel, every man and woman, from the impulse of their hearts, gave their offerings freely to the Lord for the work which the Lord had given Moses orders to have done. And Moses said to the children of Israel, See, the Lord has made selection of Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and he has made him full of the Spirit of God, in all wisdom and knowledge and art of every sort, as an expert designer of beautiful things, working in gold and silver and brass, trained in the cutting of stones and the ornamenting of wood and in every sort of handwork. And he has given to him, and to Aholop, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, the power of training others. To them he has given knowledge of all the arts of the handworker, of the designer, and the expert workman, of the maker of needlework in blue and purple and red and the best linen, and of the maker of cloth. In all the arts of the designer and the trained workman they are expert. Chapter 36. So let Bezalel and Aholop get to work, with every wise-hearted man to whom the Lord has given wisdom and knowledge, to do whatever is necessary for the ordering of the holy place, as the Lord has given orders. Then Moses sent for Bezalel and Aholop, and for all the wise-hearted men to whom the Lord had given wisdom, even everyone who was moved by the impulse of his heart to come and take part in the work. And they took from Moses all the offerings which the children of Israel had given for the building of the holy place. And still they went on giving him more free offerings every morning. Then the wise men, who were doing all the work of the holy place, came from their work, and said to Moses, "The people are giving much more than is needed for the work which the Lord has given us orders to do." So Moses made an order and had it given out through all the tents, saying, "Let no man or woman make any more offerings for the holy place." So the people were kept from giving more, for the material they had was enough and more than enough for all the work which had to be done. Then all the expert workmen among them made the house with its tent curtains, of the best linen, blue and purple and red. They made them, with winged ones worked by expert designers. Every curtain was 28 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, all of the same measure. And 5 curtains were joined together, and the other 5 curtains were joined together. And they put twists of blue cord on the edge of the outside curtain of the first group, and in the same way on the outside curtain of the second group. 50 twists on the one curtain and 50 on the edge of the curtain of the other group, the twists being opposite to one another. And they made 50 hooks of gold, joining the curtains one to another with the hooks, and so the house was made. And they made curtains of goat's hair for the tent. 11 curtains were made. Every curtain was 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, all of the same measure. 5 curtains were joined together to make one group, and 6 curtains were joined together to make the other group. And they put 50 twists of cord on the edge of the outside curtain of the first group, and 50 twists on the edge of the outside curtain of the second group, and 50 hooks of brass for joining them together to make the tent. And they made a cover of sheepskins colored red, to go over the tent, and a cover of leather over that. And for the uprights of the house they made boards of hardwood. The boards were 10 cubits long and 1 cubit and a half wide. Every board had 2 tongues fixed into it. All the boards were made in this way. They made 20 boards for the south side of the house, and for these 20 boards, 40 silver bases, 2 bases under every board, to take its tongues. And for the second side of the house, on the north, they made 20 boards, with their 40 silver bases, 2 bases for every board. And for the west side of the house, at the back, they made 6 boards, and 2 boards for the angles at the back. These were joined together at the base and at the top to one ring, so forming the 2 angles. So there were 8 boards with 16 bases of silver, 2 bases under every board. And they made rods of hardwood, 5 for the boards on one side of the house, and 5 for the boards on the other side of the house, and 5 for the boards at the back, on the west. The middle rod was made to go right through the rings of all the boards from one end to the other. All the boards were plated with gold, and the rings through which the rods went were of gold, and the rods were plated with gold. And he made the veil of the best linen, blue and purple and red, worked with winged ones designed by expert workmen. And they made 4 pillars for it of hardwood plated with gold. They had hooks of gold and 4 silver bases. And they made a curtain for the door of the tent, of the best linen with needlework of blue and purple and red, and 5 pillars for the curtain, with their hooks. The heads of the pillars were of gold, and they were circled with bands of gold, and their 5 bases were of brass. Chapter 37. And Bezalel made the ark of hard wood, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide and 1.5 cubits high, plating it inside and out with the best gold, and putting an edge of gold all round it. And he made 4 gold rings for its 4 angles, 2 on one side and 2 on the other, and rods of the same wood plated with gold. These rods he put in the rings at the sides of the ark, for lifting it. And he made the cover all of gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. And he made 2 winged ones, hammered out of 1 bit of gold, for the 2 ends of the cover, placing one at one end and one at the other. The winged ones were part of the cover, and their wings were stretched out over the cover. The faces of the winged ones were opposite one another and facing the cover. And he made the table of hard wood, 2 cubits long, 1 cubit wide and 1.5 cubits high, plating it with the best gold and putting a gold edge all round it. And he made a frame all round it about as wide as a man's hand, edged with gold all round. And he made 4 gold rings, and put the rings at the angles of its 4 feet. The rings were fixed under the frame to take the rods with which the table was to be lifted. The rods for lifting the table he made of hard wood plated with gold. And all the table vessels, the plates and spoons and basins and the cups for liquids, he made of the best gold. Then he made the support for the lights, all of the best gold. Its base and its pillar were of hammered gold. Its cups and buds and flowers were all made out of the same metal. It had 6 branches coming out from its sides, 3 from one side and 3 from the other, every branch having 3 cups made like almond flowers, every cup with a bud and a flower on all the branches, and on its pillar, 4 cups like almond flowers, every one with its bud and its flower, and under every 2 branches a bud, made with the branch, for all 6 branches of it. The buds and the branches were made of the same metal, altogether one complete work of the best hammered gold. And he made the 7 vessels for the lights, and all the necessary instruments for it, of gold. A talent of the best gold was used for the making of it and its vessels. And he made the altar for the burning of spices, using the same hard wood. It was square, 1 cubit long and 1 cubit wide and 2 cubits high, the horns made of the same. The top and the sides and the horns were all plated with the best gold, and he put an edge of gold all round it. And he made 2 gold rings, placing them on the 2 opposite sides under the edge, to take the rods for lifting it. The rods he made of the same hard wood, plating them with gold. And he made the holy oil and the perfume of sweet spices for burning, after the art of the perfume maker. Chapter 38. The altar of burnt offerings he made of hard wood, a square altar, 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide and 3 cubits high, and he put horns at its 4 angles made of the same, plating it all with brass. And brass was used for all the vessels of the altar, the baskets and the spades, the basins and the meat hooks and the fire trays. All the vessels he made of brass, and he made a network of brass for the altar, under the frame round it, stretching halfway up, and 4 rings for the 4 angles of this network, to take the rods. The rods he made of hard wood plated with brass. He put the rods through the rings at the opposite sides of the altar for lifting it. He made the altar hollow, boarded in with wood. And he made the washing vessel of brass on a brass base, using the polished brass looking glasses given by the women who did work at the doors of the tent of meeting. To make the open space, he put hangings on the south side, of the best linen, 100 cubits long. Their 20 pillars and their 20 bases were brass, and the hooks of the pillars and their bands were of silver. And for the north side, hangings 100 cubits long, on 20 brass pillars in brass bases, with silver hooks and bands. And on the west side, hangings 50 cubits long, on 10 pillars and 10 bases, with silver bands. And on the east side, the open space was 50 cubits long. The hangings on one side of the doorway were 15 cubits long, on 3 pillars with their 3 bases, and the same on the other side of the doorway, on this side and on that. The hangings were 15 cubits long, on 3 pillars with their 3 bases. All the hangings were of the best linen, and the bases of the pillars were of brass. Their hooks and the bands round the tops of them were of silver. All the pillars were inked with silver. And the curtain for the doorway of the open space was of the best linen, with designs of blue and purple and red in needlework. It was 20 cubits long and 5 cubits high, to go with the hangings round the sides. There were 4 pillars with their bases, all of brass, the hooks being of silver, and their tops and their bands being covered with silver. All the nails used for the house and the open space round it were of brass. This is the price of the making of the house, even the house of witness, as it was valued by the word of Moses, for the work of the Levites under the direction of Itamar, the son of Aaron the priest. Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made everything as the Lord had given orders to Moses. And with him was Aholab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, a designer and a trained workman, expert in needlework of blue and purple and red and the best linen. The gold used for all the different work done for the holy place, the gold which was given, was 29 talents, and 730 shekels in weight, by the scale of the holy place. And the silver given by those who were numbered of the people was 100 talents, and 1,775 shekels in weight, by the scale of the holy place. A beker, that is, half a shekel by the holy scale, for everyone who was numbered. There were 603,550 men of 20 years old and over. Of this silver, 100 talents was used for making the bases of the pillars of the holy place and of the veil, a talent for every base, and 1,775 shekels of silver was used to make the hooks for the pillars, and for plating the tops of the pillars and for making their bands. The brass which was given was 70 talents, 2,400 shekels. From it he made the bases of the doorway of the tent of meeting and the brass altar and the network for it and all the vessels for the altar, and the bases for the open space all round and for its doorway, and all the nails for the house and for the open space. Chapter 39. And from the needlework of blue and purple and red they made the robes used for the work of the holy place, and the holy robes for Aaron, as the Lord had given orders to Moses. The ephod he made of gold and blue and purple and red and the best linen, hammering the gold into thin plates and cutting it into wires to be worked into the blue and the purple and the red and the linen by the designer. And they made 2 bands for joining its edges together at the top of the arms. And the beautifully worked band which went on it was of the same design and the same material, worked in gold and blue and purple and red and twisted linen work, as the Lord gave orders to Moses. Then they made the beryl stones, fixed in twisted frames of gold and cut like the cutting of a stamp, with the names of the children of Israel. These he put on the ephod, over the armholes, to be stones of memory for the children of Israel, as the Lord had said to Moses. The priest's bag was designed like the ephod, of the best linen worked with gold and blue and purple and red. It was square and folded in 2, as long and as wide as the stretch of a man's hand, and on it they put 4 lines of stones. In the first line was a carnelian, a chrysolite, and an emerald. In the second, a ruby, a sapphire, and an onyx. In the third, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. In the fourth, a topaz, a beryl, and a jasper. They were fixed in twisted frames of gold. There were 12 stones for the 12 tribes of Israel. On every one the name of one of the tribes of Israel was cut, like the cutting of a stamp, and on the bag they put gold chains, twisted like cords. And they made 2 gold frames and 2 gold rings, the rings being fixed to the ends of the priest's bag, and they put the 2 twisted chains on the 2 rings at the ends of the priest's bag, and the other 2 ends of the chains were joined to the 2 frames and fixed to the front of the ephod over the armholes. And they made 2 rings of gold and put them on the 2 lower ends of the bag, on the inner side nearest to the ephod. And 2 other gold rings were put on the front of the ephod, over the armholes, at the joint, and over the worked band. And the rings on the bag were fixed to the rings of the ephod by a blue cord, keeping it in place over the band, so that the bag might not get loose, as the Lord gave orders to Moses. The robe which went with the ephod was made all of blue, with a hole at the top in the middle, like the hole in the coat of a fighting man, edged with a band to make it strong. The skirts of the robe were worked all round with fruits in blue and purple and red made of twisted linen, and between the fruits all round the skirt they put gold bells, as the Lord gave orders to Moses. All round the skirt of the robe were bells and fruits in turn. The coats for Aaron and his sons they made of the best linen, and the twisted headdress for Aaron, and beautiful headdresses of linen, and linen trousers, and a linen band worked with a design of blue and purple and red, as the Lord had said to Moses. The plate for the holy crown was made of the best gold, and on it were cut these words, "Holy to the Lord." It was fixed to the headdress by a blue cord, as the Lord had given orders to Moses. So all the work on the house of the tent of meeting was done, as the Lord had given orders to Moses, so the children of Israel did it. Then they took the house to Moses, the tent with all the things for it, its hooks, its boards, its rods, its pillars, and its bases, the outer cover of sheepskins colored red, and the cover of leather, and the veil for the doorway, the ark of the law, with its rods and its cover, the table, with all its vessels and the holy bread, the support for the lights, with the vessels for the lights to be put in their places on it, and all its vessels, and the oil for the lights, and the gold altar, and the holy oil, and the sweet perfume for burning, and the curtain for the doorway of the tent, and the brass altar, with its network of brass, and its rods and all its vessels, and the washing vessel and its base, the hangings for the open space, with the pillars and their bases, and the curtain for the doorway, and the cords and nails, and all the instruments necessary for the work of the house of the tent of meeting, the robes for use in the holy place, and the holy robes for Aaron and his sons when acting as priests. The children of Israel did everything as the Lord had given orders to Moses. Then Moses, when he saw all their work and saw that they had done everything as the Lord had said, gave them his blessing. Chapter 40. And the Lord said to Moses, On the first day of the first month you are to put up the house of the tent of meeting. And inside it put the ark of the law, hanging the veil before it. And put the table inside, placing all the things on it in order, and putting the support for the lights, and let its lights be burning. And put the gold altar for burning perfumes in front of the ark of the law, hanging the curtain over the doorway of the house. And put the altar of burnt offerings before the doorway of the house of the tent of meeting. And let the washing vessel, with water in it, be put between the tent of meeting and the altar. And put up the hangings forming the open space all round it, with the curtain over its doorway. And take the holy oil and put it on the house and everything in it, and make it and everything in it holy, and put oil on the altar of burnt offering, and make it and all its vessels holy. This altar is to be most holy. And put oil on the washing vessel and its base, and make them holy. Then let Aaron and his sons come to the door of the tent of meeting, and after washing them with water, you are to put on Aaron the holy robes, and you are to put oil on him, and make him holy, so that he may be my priest. And take his sons with him and put coats on them, and put oil on them as you did on their father, so that they may be my priests. The putting on of oil will make them priests forever, from generation to generation. And Moses did this, as the Lord gave him orders. So he did. So on the first day of the first month in the second year the house was put up. Moses put up the house, placing its bases in position and lifting up its uprights, putting in the rods and planting the pillars in their places, stretching the outer tent over it, and covering it, as the Lord had given him orders. And he took the law and put it inside the ark, and put the rods at its side and the cover over it, and he took the ark into the house, hanging up the veil before it as the Lord had given him orders. And he put the table in the tent of meeting, on the north side outside the veil. And he put the bread on it in order before the Lord, as the Lord had said. The support for the lights he put in the tent of meeting, opposite the table, on the south side, lighting the lights before the Lord, as the Lord had given him orders. And he put the gold altar in the tent of meeting, in front of the veil, burning sweet perfumes on it, as the Lord had given him orders. And he put up the curtain at the doorway of the house, and at the door of the house of the tent of meeting, he put the altar of burnt offerings, offering on it the burnt offering and the meal offering, as the Lord had given him orders. And between the altar and the tent of meeting he put the vessel with water in it for washing. In it the hands and feet of Moses and Aaron and his sons were washed, whenever they went into the tent of meeting, and when they came near the altar, as the Lord had given orders to Moses. And he put up the hangings forming the open space round the house and the altar, and put the curtain over the doorway. So Moses made the work complete. Then the cloud came down covering the tent of meeting, and the house was full of the glory of the Lord, so that Moses was not able to go into the tent of meeting, because the cloud was resting on it, and the house was full of the glory of the Lord. And whenever the cloud was taken up from the house, the children of Israel went forward on their journey, but while the cloud was there, they made no move till it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was resting on the house by day, and at night there was fire in the cloud, before the eyes of all the people of Israel, and so it was through all their journeys.